Ma'am, your mic is off.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that storytelling is where history was recorded for the first time. The initial, records for historically, of humankind were basically storytelling. Um, in earlier times, humans, they used to sit around once they discovered what fire was. They would um, sit together, the families would sit together around the fire at night, and they would tell stories to each other. The stories would come from the imagination, obviously, or from things that people had seen. Okay, initially that was how stories were told. Remember, narratives or storytelling, in storytelling, you use a lot of your imagination, a lot of creativity. The more creative the story, the more intriguing it will become for the listener or for the reader. So you can use your imagination and be as creative as you can. You can, talk about things fancily. You can talk about things grandly. All the movies that we watch, most of the movies, around 80 to 90% movies, they are all um, fictional, they're all imaginative. There are around 10% movies that are based on true events, 10 to 20% movies based on true events, isn't it? Even in them, the director or the producer, they use things which can be imaginative. Okay. Now, here I have a video from TED Talk, where the person, Josh Campbell, gives us 7 tips of good storytelling. Okay, based on, basically, your task today was, since we were talking about, we've read 2 different stories till now in our text, where an absolutely new food was introduced to the writer. Your first one, the writer came across spaghetti bolognese and the flavor of Parmesan cheese, which was absolutely new to the British people. And then, secondly, we came across our British writer who went to Vietnam, and he tasted pho for the first time. So basically, the stories are going to be about, your task is basically relevant with talking about your experience, telling a story about your personal experience of eating something for the very first time, eating something that you have never eaten before, but you come across eating it and you do it for the first time, and you're going to tell the whole story. Before that, I want you to have a look at this 8-minute video where Josh Campbell gives you some important tips on how you can improve the quality of storytelling. Here it goes.
If you're living your best life, which I know you are, I've seen your Instagrams. If you're living right, storytelling has to be a part of your life. You will have to give a pitch for your boss. You will have to give a presentation to your employees. A friend will ask you to give a toast. You will give a eulogy. So these storytelling opportunities are coming. So you have to prepare for them. You have to practice. And the best way to practice and prepare is to find your voice in front of a story, in front of a crowd of people, your ability to connect with an audience. And the way to do that is by telling your story. The spilled events we run, I host them, and at the end, people always come up to me and they say the same thing. They said, I'd love to do that, but I don't have a story to tell. And I always say to them, well, you know that's not true, because everyone has a story to tell. That's just something we tell ourselves. That's the excuse that we give to not do it. What we're really saying when we say that is, I don't think I have a story that anybody wants to listen to. TED Talks are about revolutionary ideas. Here's the idea: people want to hear your story. Isn't it the worst when someone takes your excuse away from you? I'm a teacher, I do that a lot. So these opportunities are coming. You need to practice, and the connection with the audience is already there. Why are you listening to me right now? Because I'm standing in front of you. You're facing this way. You really have no choice. It's up to me to keep that connection going. And so the 7 keys to good storytelling is not how to tell a good story. It's how to avoid telling bad stories. And so I've made some slides with some of my favorite storytellers to help me out. First key, be prepared but not too prepared. Every journey, you want to get from A to B, but it's the side roads and the side tracks, the long cuts and the shortcuts that make the journey worthwhile. Have an outline, stick to it, but give yourself some wiggle room so that you can explore that part of the story that's really working. Give yourself an escape route so you can get out of that part of the story that's not. Don't let preparation get in the way of a good story. Right now, my father is saying, only Josh would make lack of preparation a virtue. You don't have to be funny. Because let's admit it, folks, you're not funny. I'm sorry. Everybody always says that to me. I wish I could tell my story, but I'm just not funny. And you have that old trope. Always start your presentation with a joke. It will relax your audience. But if that joke bombs, the connection is lost. People want to feel connected more than they want to laugh. Name names. People always say, I want to tell my story, but I don't want this person to be embarrassed. I want to tell my story, but I don't want this person to know that I think about them at all. I want to tell my story, but I would be embarrassed if my mom found out I hooked up with that guy. If you can't use someone's name, they have power over your story. Don't let someone with no name determine your story for you. It's not a therapy session. If you can't make peace with your story, then your audience won't be able to. That doesn't mean that you can't show emotion. It's fine. 75% of our winners at our Spill It Slams are the guys and girls that cry. Pro tip on that one. But it is not the audience's job to give you closure. You don't want your audience to feel sympathy for you. You want them to feel empathy. If they feel sorry for you, they're thinking about you and your well-being, and they're not thinking about your story anymore. Make peace with your story before you get on the stage. Dad's from Memphis, one of our great storytellers. Start at the beginning of your story and end at the end. Sounds simple. But when I sit down and meet with people, usually what happens is they start talking, and about 5 minutes in, they say, well, I guess the story really starts here. Well, if it really starts here, what have you been talking about for the last 5 minutes? I have no idea what your story is about. It was nice to hear about grandma coming from Bavaria back in the 1830s or something like that. But what does it have to do with the cat you just bought? So let's begin at our beginning. End at the end. So many storytellers reach that point B that they wanted to get to. They have a great closing line. The audience has had their cathartic release. And it should be walk off the stage. You should have that George Costanza moment of, I'm out of here, thanks guys. But what people do instead of that is they go, well, I guess the moral of the story is, and then for 2 minutes they moralize to you. You've got to trust that your audience is going to get the lesson that you want them to get, or they're going to get the lesson that they want to get. Don't rob them of that by telling them the moral of the story. The devil's in the details, and those details are boring. Trust your audience. You and your audience are human beings. You're having a dialogue with them. You're the only one talking, but in their head, they're speaking back to you. You have shared experiences as human beings that don't need to be explained in great detail. If I say to you, my dog's my best friend, you understand what I'm saying. Do I need to spend 2 minutes talking about the way he licks my face? Or where he meets me at the door every day? Or sometimes when I talk to him, I think he's the only one that really understands me? I don't own a dog. I'm more of a cat person. I don't own a cat either. See, that's me trying to be funny. You know, it doesn't always work. But you understand what I'm saying. I don't need to spend 2 minutes telling you my dog's my best friend. You get it. We're together. Let's move on. You understand me and I understand you. The audience is on your side. Keep them there. The connection is made. Again, you understand your audience. They are your peers. They are the people that live in the city that you do. Don't make a controversial statement unless you have to, unless it's totally vital to the story. Earlier, I told you guys that I look at your Instagram accounts, and then I said you weren't funny. That wasn't a good idea on my part. 10% of you probably checked out a long time ago, just because of that. Don't offend your audience. So those are my 7 keys. But the most important one is this, the secret key. Sometimes details are important. Sometimes morals are necessary. Sometimes you have to offend your audience to make them listen. I can't tell you what your story is, and I can't tell you how to tell it. The only way you can do it is by practice. Go and find a mic. Get in front of an audience. Find your voice. Be the hero of your own story. Be the protagonist.
Be honest, do you really want to watch a video that looks like this?
Okay. Right. Aha. Abu Bakr Ajmal, you're not supposed to be here. Your class ended around 15 minutes ago. More than 15 minutes ago, okay? We did adverbial clauses. Yes. By mistake. It doesn't matter. It was my mistake. I accidentally shared the wrong schedule with grade 8 today. Okay, so I'll post your lesson in a little while. All we did was page 118, 119, adverbial clauses today. Take care, Abu Bakr. You can leave the class if you want. And if you want to learn something from this session, it's okay. You can stay if you want. Take care. Waleed Rajput. Oh, yeah. This session is basically pre-O levels, not grade 8. Okay? Rafe, paas aa jaye. Okay. If you want to stay over here and learn something, it's absolutely okay with me, okay? I don't mind. Okay, Ji. For the pre-O level students, um, the purpose of showing this video was to give you 7 main um, things to consider while you are telling a story, while you are writing your own narrative. Yes, what was the first one? Rafi, you are typing it down or you're going to say it out loud?
Telling a good story.
Okay, how do you tell while telling a good story? What is the first thing that you should keep in mind? It was the Jane Austen
Not
quote.
मैम सीक्वेंस में बताने
अच्छा जान के नहीं की हुई होगी छोड़ दो बहन brush your hair, brush your teeth, and then you can go. Yes,
मैम
please.
सीक्वेंस में बताने
It doesn't matter, however you please.
to not be funny and to not offend anyone.
Exactly. You should not be overly funny. You should not offend anyone. You should learn to stay connected with your reader, with your audience. Ibrahim, can you please close the door? It's getting chilly. The first thing he said was, do not be over prepared. When we are over prepared, we tend to, not tell things in a better way. पहले से दिमाग में हम बहुत सारे आइडियाज अगर लेके बैठ जाएं तो बी um, like on the spot. The more spontaneous you will be, the more natural your story will feel. Okay, then what I personally think is your characters should always be named. He did this, he did that, she did this. That becomes too boring and confusing for the reader. Okay, because since we are more into writing for the CIE, our basic purpose is to remember to name our characters and then later on use those names throughout the story. Okay, then the reader should not feel sympathy. Betaji, can you please close the door? You just messed up the whole room. The whole room is now cold, बच्चे. सारी गर्मी निकल गई भाई हमारे ये हीटर घंटा भर चलाने का कोई फायदा नहीं हुआ. अच्छा, the reader should feel empathy. Empathy means that your feelings that you feel, you should feel connected. Okay, आपको कहीं पे ये ना फील हो कि अच्छा यार ये तो बिल्कुल मेरे साथ भी हो चुका है. I have felt the same in such a such scenario. Okay, that's what the reader should feel. Um, your words should make the reader feel scared. If the story, if the scene that you are setting is horrifying, the reader should feel that he's scared. If you're trying to tell that the person is heartbroken, the reader should feel those emotions. Okay, then remember to begin properly and end your story properly. Do not bring the beginning in the middle. Okay, the sequence of the events should be organized. Okay, not that you're beginning from the ending. Beginning from the ending. Remember, I told you earlier on, what you call it, flashback. Flashback is a different technique. But when you do not know how to organize your story, पहले ये हुआ बाद में ये हुआ अच्छा फिर हमारी ये भी हुआ था वो गड़बड़ हो जाती है ठीक है do not give a lot of details you say that my dog loves me just the way Mr. Josh gave us the example you just say my dog loves me he is my best friend and that's it you do not give extra detail he comes to me every morning he licks my face etc etc those are not needed information then keep the connection with your reader. Do not give extra details. Do not make controversial statements. Do not, disconnect with your reader. Remember to keep your story intriguing. Keep your reader's attention through your words connected with your story. It should flow. The flow of your story should be smooth. Now, your task is having just told your story and listened to others and read the text in this unit, this is page 138, you will have plenty of ideas about what makes a good story. Okay, we have done a few stories previously ourselves, and we have read at least 2 stories in this unit where people have come across an absolutely new flavor, new taste, new textures of eating. One was a good experience, the first one was a bad experience with a new taste, and the second one was a wonderful experience. Okay, use the first person, write a story about the first time you tasted something unfamiliar. Okay, you have 2 options. Either you can give in a wonderful experience or you can give in a poor experience of eating something which you had never eaten before. It can be anything. Let's ask you, Rafe, have you ever eaten something that you've never eaten before? The rest of the two, Fasi and Shakar, think of something yourselves. It can be from your childhood. It can be from something that you ate recently. Think.
Cerelac.
Cerelac. Okay. That was when?
I was always a child.
Well, obviously, when you were a baby. Do you remember the emotions, the taste, the texture, etc.? Well, then,
कुछ याद नहीं.
think of something that you ate for the first time when you were a grown up, when you could feel things, when you could taste things, when you could smell things in a better way, so that you will use, see, with eating, you can use all the five textures or senses, isn't it? The crunch, that's hearing, the pretty colors, that's sight, the fragrance, the aroma, that's going to be smell, the taste, and when you touch something, the texture also comes. Okay? Yes. फसी के दिमाग में कोई चीज आई? Am I recording this?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, आप फसी उतनी देर में बताते हैं. Yes, फसी. Share your
Egg,
experience.
ma'am. Egg, ma'am. Egg.
Egg. अच्छा, प्लीज रिमेम्बर अपनी एज अपनी स्टोरी के हिसाब से ऐसी रखनी है कि जिस एज में, इन विच एज यू नो व्हाट टेक्सचर्स आर. ओके? यस.
Ma'am, I ate it when I was 8.
ओके. एंड
मैम जबरदस्ती खिलाया था मुझे.
you didn't like to eat eggs before that.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Ma'am, because it was yellow. It had a creepy color.
It had a creepy color. You were always offended with it. Okay. So you had never eaten it before.
Yes, ma'am.
And what did the egg look like? Since you dislike
Ma'am.
it, you're going to use words which will be, offensive. The things that will show your dislike for it. What did it look like?
Ma'am, I hated the top, which was like a ball, but it was yellow, white.
Okay. What came in your mind? Was it a boiled egg or a fried egg?
Fried.
It was a fried egg. So what offended you the most about the egg?
Mm.
The texture or the smell?
Ma'am, the smell was good.
The smell, it smelled nice.
Yes, ma'am.
And the texture in your mouth?
I don't remember, ma'am.
फिर ऐसी चीज के बारे में लिख के या बताएं जो आपको याद भी हो. ठीक है? ऐसी चीज के बारे में बात करेंगे. Yes, please. Shakar, would you like to add something? Share your experience.
मैम उसने चैट में
Achha, Shakar says the first time I ate broccoli was when I was 4, and the second I tasted it, I felt like someone just threw a wrecking ball in my stomach. It tasted disgusting. Oh, okay. Yes, Mohsin, would you like to? Achha, Rafe, ताकि Mohsin को idea हो. Mohsin, we are talking about our first experience of eating something that we had never eaten before. ठीक है? You're going to. ठीक हो गया ना? चले राफे.
मैम फिलहाल दिमाग में कुछ नहीं आ रहा मेरे. मैं स्टोरी में लिख लूंगा.
मैंने तो बहुत कुछ किया.
Ma'am, करेले.
Karele, ufalla. Karela is called balsam, or sorry, it's called bitter gourd.
That's my favorite. Karela is my favorite.
Karela is your favorite. I like Karela too. Karela.
Favorite in tables.
Karela is
Vegetables.
bitter gourd. Okay? In English, it is
Karela is
called
better.
bitter gourd. Okay? So, yes, Mohsin, what is something unfamiliar, something that you had never eaten, and then you ate it?
I don't remember, but I drink one thing that I never drink that before.
Uh-huh.
That is neem. Neem.
Sorry?
नीम नहीं होता नीम. नीम वो जो बहुत फीका होता है, वो पानी में डाल के जानवर रख देते हैं फिर.
Can you type it in the chat?
पाकिस्तान में होता है नीम.
Type it in the chat box.
पता नहीं. बोलते हैं नीम ही बोलते हैं. हाँ नहीं है
Have I typed correct?
तो मैसेज कर
Why did you have to drink it?
ना वो दाने के लिए होता है ना
Huh?
एक सेकंड मैं एक सेकंड सर्च कर लो नेमनीनी कहते हैं
I have no.
ना नीम नीम की जो लीफ होती है ना
हाँ
नीम एक जो है ना ट्री है तो
हाँ
जो नीम की जो लीफ उसको पानी में डाल देते हैं ना तो पानी में एक दिन के लिए डाल देते हैं तो वो जब वो जो वाटर है ना तो उसका ना एक्सट्रैक्ट कर लेता है ना अब्जॉर्ब कर लेता है
हाँ
तो फिर जो है ना अंदर से वो जो है ना वो पत्ते निकाल देते हैं फिर बाद में वो जो है ना ड्रिंक बना है ना वो फिर पीते हैं
okay.
तो वो जो होता है ना बहुत कौड़ा होता है
Huh, it's absolutely bitter.
हाँ, सुबह मैंने ट्राई की थी तो बिल्कुल बस
It would be like
एक दफा ट्राई की थी अब तो मैं रोज पी लेता हूँ
okay. So
इतनी में ट्राई की थी अब तो रोज ही पी लेता
you drink it
हूँ
during summer?
या
Oh, okay. अच्छा. Has anyone ever tried shrimps or lobster or crab or oysters? Have you ever eaten any of these seafoods?
No.
I tried sushi.
Sushi. You can write about sushi then. Did you like it?
No, it was disgusting.
It was disgusting. See, I tried eating sushi once and we went to Islamabad and it was absolutely horrible. I love to eat seafood, I love to eat fish, but eating the idea of eating raw fish was just too disgusting. But still, my niece, she somehow she what should be the word? She tempted me into accompanying her to the Japanese restaurant, and we went over there, and we very excitedly we ordered one. And once the platter came, it was too good looking. You know, it was so pretty to look at. It was what would we say? It was so pleasing to the eye. It smelled fine as well, but the texture in your mouth, it was so gooey, and that texture under the teeth of grinding the raw fish or raw meat, it was just too disgusting. And I tried my very best to swallow it and to chew on it and then swallow it in, but it was just too much. The flavor was just too much, and I couldn't. And so I choked on it, I gagged on it, and then I took a paper towel and I spitted everything out. And that that platter was quite expensive, by the way. And we just said, no, we don't want to eat it. Let's get our typical chow mein or the typical, वो एक और चीज हमने मंगाई थी, that beef chili dry kind of a thing. फिर हमने वो मंगा के हमने वो खा ली थी. But that sushi was just too disgusting. So see, just like I shared my experience with somebody, yeah, I'm short of my words today. Yeah, persuade. My niece persuaded me into eating sushi.
blackmail.
Not exactly blackmail, लेकिन बस उसने मुझे convince किया था. Yeah, convince should be the word. She convinced me into dining out and eating sushi with her. And it was not a good experience. Yeah, I don't want to, I admire the people जो खा लेते हैं उसको भाई. I can't. I've eaten all sorts of weird stuff, but kachi machi is not one of them. Okay. So your task basically is to then write a story based on your personal experience. Obviously, it's going to be in the, as the book says, page number 148. You're going to use the first person since the story is going to be about you. But your story does not have to be true. ज़रूरी नहीं है that it comes from your real experience. Okay? You can make up the story. Use some of the ideas from the stories you have heard to make your story enjoyable for your readers. Since the story is going to be, it can be a made up story, it can be full of imagination. Think of anything that you can horribly eat. It can be a good experience, it can be a bad experience. Okay? It is completely up to you. What would be the food item that you're going to introduce to your reader? You can have a little research on it, and you have at least okay, word limit 200 words. 200 words बहुत हो जाएगी, ज़्यादा कर लें, 300 कर लें.
नहीं 200 काफी है.
200 to 250 words. ठीक है? 200 to 250 words would be more than sufficient, and that would be basically to write a narrative about an unfamiliar eating an unfamiliar food. It can be a fruit, it can be a vegetable, it can be a proper meal, it can be an exotic dish. Eating bhindi, tori, bengan for the first time, karela for the first time, anything. Just make it interesting for the reader. Okay? That would be all. Any questions? Any
I don't
questions?
know.
Vaimir तो बस थोड़ी देर के लिए आए थे and then he left. ठीक है चलें. If you have no questions, can I end the session, please?
जी.
Remember?
Okay. You understand the task? It's not very
बस आप अभी आए बेटे. 40 मिनट से क्लास हो रही है.
चलो ठीक है. You understand.
मैम 11 बजे से क्लास आ रही थी.